Hey folks, welcome back to the next video in this flight sim series. I believe I mentioned I was going to work on the menuing system and UI for the campaign in the last video, but I think I'm going to switch that up for a couple reasons. One is I don't really feel like working on that today. Um, And the second is because I need to do a little bit more. I feel like I need to do a little bit more thinking about this because what I'm discovering is that really the way I want to do this, the method that I used, where I used a subsystem to manage the campaign, I think is not really going to work for me. So because this it lives for the entire time that the game is running. So I don't want to start my campaign as soon as the game launches. I want to start it, when a user clicks on start a new single player or a new multiplayer campaign. And in order to do that, I could do it as a campaign subsystem like I've done here, but I would have to write some really hacky code in order to pull that off in the up in the C++ file. I would need something pretty hackish in this initialize to make that work, and I don't think I want to do that. Um, so sort of looking at the various ways I could handle this. Um, One is I could do it the way that the AI wanted me to do it to begin with, which is to make this campaign, my entire campaign class, an actor, which would then be replicated to all the clients. Or I guess I could use the game state class, which is automatically replicated in multiplayer to all of the clients and control it with like the game mode. I guess my commanders would be inside my game mode and all of the state down here, the objectives, map, etc. This would all be in the game state so that it would replicate. Um, Either way probably works just as well. I have not decided which way I want to do it yet. So I think I'm just going to stew on that for a little bit longer and not worry about it for now. So instead, what I wanted to work on today was to bring in another aircraft. Okay, I got interrupted for what I thought was going to be about 30 seconds, ended up being several hours. So um, I think what I was saying is what I wanted to do was go ahead and bring in some more, some different units, in particular aircraft, and I imported a bunch from my migration project. I grabbed the F-18, the A-10, and down here under the movement one, I've got a F-16 and a F-35. Now, the F-35 in particular requires more work because it's got vertical landing capability and it can rotate its nozzle and it's got a big fan in the middle of it that you can open up and I'd have to implement a bunch more controls for that. So I'm not ready to bring that one all the way in just yet, but I went ahead and imported the model and everything that goes with it just so I'd have it. But I do think I want to go ahead and try to bring in this F-16. When I originally started this, I thought, um, that I would use either the F16 or the F35 or maybe both. Um, Now I'm curious about what happened to my blueprint for my F15. Like it didn't get saved in my project anywhere. That's really weird. Well, it doesn't really matter since I'm going to bring in the F16 anyway. Let's see my world settings. Oh, this is my migrator project, I believe I'm looking at right now. Yes, this is my migrator project. So I need to migrate. I'm gonna go ahead and, you know what, I'm just gonna migrate the F16 for now since that's what I'm bringing in. So let me migrate this and we're gonna get rid of everything I don't really need. So let's see. This one is a little bit more complicated because they've implemented the movement, so it actually has a version of the blueprint that uses JSP sim. I'm going to bring all that in just so I have it for reference. HUD indicator. We're not going to bring in the helicopter stuff. We don't need any of that. Not going to bring in the game mode. We're not going to bring in any showcase stuff. None of this I really need. I'm going to bring it in anyway just because I know it gets referenced from the blueprint. And I'll go and bring in the weapons as well, just so I have them. Missiles, bombs. You don't need any of the levels. We don't need the volumetric clouds. We don't really need the landscape stuff. Particles, we'll bring in all of these. We won't bring in the showcase blueprint. We don't need that. Okay, this is what we'll import, and we will import it into Fox content folder. And I'll go ahead and let that migrate, and then I'll open up the other project. Okay, so I've opened up the Fox project now. We take a look. We should have our F16 here, and we do. I'm going to create a folder for it. Effectively, we're going to do the same thing we did for the F15. We're just going to create a blueprint and an animation blueprint. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to copy. Wonder if the bone. I don't know if the bone names are the same or not. But I'm going to copy this guy and paste it here. And see if I can change the skeleton on this. I'm not sure where I do that at. Let's do it here. Find skeleton. There we go. I want the F16. Of course, now there's warnings here because the animations
So, like I feared, the bone names don't match, which means copying it was probably pointless anyway, because I already see if I can at least do this. Let's see what animations we have available here. Let's see, what wheel was that? That was the right rear, front wheel, left rear wheel, right rear wheel close. Left rear, 16, left rear wheel close. Front wheel. Yeah, he fixed the landing gear animations. Now I just have to find the names of the bones for the rudder, the elevators, etc. So let's see. Rudder joint. There's only one rudder, so I don't have to do the second one. That is not right. Let's take a look. Okay, what do we have right here? Yeah, this is the guy. So it's called flaps on this. Okay, so we got the left flaps, and we got the and the right flaps. Oh, these are the elevators. My bad. What do we call the elevator on this guy? Okay, elevator. Left and right. Then we have the ailerons. Right, left, flaps. Which on this is actually the slats, I'm guessing. Left. Oops. Let's compile. I didn't do the air brakes. Oh no, it's already set up. Let me remove this and replace it. Right, it says lower and uppers, so I need all four of these. Left lower, left upper, right lower, right upper. Set up now. I've already forgotten. I gotta go look at the other one. It's now confused, or do I have things opening and here we go. Okay, so that just goes into the additive. Hmm. I think I'm gonna need additives for each one. Okay, well, okay, we can take these. There we go. I'll clean that up a little bit later. That should have our animation blueprint now. Should be ready to roll. So for that, I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste this as well. This isn't gonna work as well, but change that to F16 and we just gotta come in and update our mesh. We're gonna use the F16 animation blueprint and the F16 skeletal mesh. The viewport, the cam looks to still be okay. Pretty good. Now the movement component. We're going to change this to F16. There's already an XML file for that in our uh, folder structure. So the only thing we need to change is the origin. Let's get this lined up. Looks good in that direction. A little bit low. back just a tick. Oop. Ah, moving fast. All right. Let's do. No, wrong one. I was moving there. Let's see, 172. Let's do 150. Nope, nope. Forward just a little bit. Little more. Oops. Let's just leave it right there for now. See where that gets us. My animation blueprint does not seem to be working. Or actually, I think it's my controls that aren't working. Because, let's take a look at the blueprint. Actually, the throttle was working just fine. Take a look at the proper controller. Box player controller. Okay. Rudder is moving incorrectly, but it is moving. I don't see the ailerons. Seeing the elevator moved when I went over the bump, but it doesn't move when I hit the controls. Okay, so my input is working. Okay, so I've launched the editor in debug mode just so I can make sure my input is working correctly since my surfaces aren't moving. So I've got breakpoints here on the elevator and aileron. We're just going to double check, make sure that's firing correctly. Still got breakpoints on my campaign. Okay. Let's hit the aileron. It's not firing, and I'm hitting the elevator, and it's not hitting the breakpoints. So there's something wrong with my input firing. So let's back it up a step and look at the controller. We'll do aileron triggered and actually put it right there. And let's do elevator triggered. Okay. And let's run again. And elevator, aileron, and elevator, and neither one is firing. And I'm guessing now it is because I've got those two input contexts, and both of them have the same keys. So I'm using S and W for elevator, but I'm also using S and W for the vehicle throttle. And I'm guessing that is what's causing my problem. To test that out, let's change. I use the arrow keys for anything. I did. I use them for the turret. Yeah, so let me use the number pad. So elevator, numpad 5 and 8. And now if I run and click, and yep, there we go, just like that. Let me give it these other breakpoints. Yep, and now those are working. And if I go set the ailerons, to instead of A and D, we'll do numpad 4. And numpad 6. Leave all, and now we have ailerons as well, and they're not rotating correctly. So the ailerons and the rudder are rotating on the wrong axis. I guess we should fix that. I'm sure we can actually come look at the one I imported for reference. We can take a look and just see what axis they're using. Open that one, and I'm going to go ahead and open mine. Okay, so let's take a look at their rudder and ailerons. So their rudder, transform modified bone, the rudder joint, rotation, add to existing bone space, doing it on the roll. Yeah. So that's the rudder. Barely moving, but it's moving in the right direction now. And if we take a look at the ailerons, it's going to be a similar problem, right? They're doing the pitch. I'm doing the pitch. What are they doing? Collapse outer. We're doing roll. Roll. And if we don't run out of memory, this should now be working. There we go. Ailerons, elevators, and rudder. Okay. Gear. Perfect. Brake. Let's see the speed brakes coming out. Oh, I've crashed. So I pretty much have everything working on except the speed brake, which is the same situation that the I shouldn't have restarted that the F15 is in. So I've pretty much brought in the F16 now. So one thing I'm going to go ahead and do, I think, before I wrap this up is I am going to create a cockpit camera. So currently we have this orbit camera that we can move the camera around the outside of the aircraft. I'm going to go ahead and create a cockpit camera. And we need to initialize it. Going to create the default sub-object, and we're going to set the attachment to be the skeletal mesh. It actually figured it out for me. That's excellent. All right, so we've got that initialized. So now it'll show up in our blueprint. We can set it. I'm going to create a method on here called we'll call it toggle camera. And we will create a variable tell you what, we kind of need an enum. Not quite sure where I want to put that. Guess we'll just make a types. And what we want to do is we want to do something very similar to what we did in here. Where did I put it exactly? Here we go, campaign types, bingo. We'll just steal one of these enums and copy it right into here. We'll call this eFox camera types. We'll do orbit and cockpit for now, and obviously there'll be more in the future, but we got orbit, we got cockpit. We're going to create a variable in here Set this to orbit by default. Okay. So then we're just going to make a method that we've made here, toggle camera. We'll go ahead and generate this, and I'm just going to do a switch statement here, I guess. Well, I haven't done a switch statement in C++ in forever, so this is probably going to be wrong. Oh wow, look, it already wrote it for me. So if it's an orbit camera, we're going to switch to cockpit, deactivate the orbit camera, activate the cockpit camera. Perfect. It wrote the code for me. Excellent. So now I just want to come up here and I'll just do a um, I'll set those the way I want them. And even though I've already set it to be the default, I'll go ahead and set it here to go. So we're defaulting to the same camera we've always had before, and now I just need in my controller, I need an input action to handle switching the camera. So we'll come here, we'll add an input action. Toggle camera, and we'll come out here and do toggle camera triggered. This obviously doesn't need to be replicated, so we're not going to worry about running it on the server. This is an area where if I could do multiple inheritance, it would work out better for me, because it would be nice if I could have a base class that's like a base Fox vehicle that had this method in it to call instead of having to put it on the aircraft and on the vehicle. But the problem is you can't do multiple inheritance like that in Unreal, and I can't inherit, I can't make a base class because my vehicles are inheriting from wheeled pawn vehicle, and my aircraft obviously is not. So um, I can't really do a base class and put these two methods. Really, both of these are methods I'm going to have to, obviously I already had to do it on the vehicle and the aircraft class. There's separate methods that do the exact same thing, which is unfortunate, but there's not really a good way around that in this case. So that is what it is. So now we've got all these methods. What we need to do is create an input action on my aircraft. Actually, let's just duplicate this one. I'll go again. Camera. Make sure that's a digital. Yep. Digital. Save it. And we'll come into my context for the aircraft and yeah. Camera. In the E. Not correct either. There we go. Toggle camera. There we go. And we'll just use the tab key, I guess. There we go. And this is not going to work. I need to restart the editor. All right, I'll get this recompiled and I'll restart the editor. Yeah, I forgot to throw at the top of my types.h, I forgot to throw the standard. Okay. I think that's going to be it. Yeah, it looks like that fixed my compile issue, so we'll just finish waiting for that editor load here. It's not my only problem. I do believe this, all of this, needs to at the very least go after the initialization, but I'm going to put it down in the begin play. There we go. Okay, so now I've got the editor relaunched here. Oh, wait, premature there. We need to come into our blueprint, and we'll do both the aircraft, the F-15 and the F-16. We just need to set the cockpit camera. Leave that, and then we'll do it for the F-16. Okay. And we need to, in our player controller, we need to hook up the, oh, you know what? There's one line of code I've missed as well. Dang it. We need to hook up toggle camera here, and then in the one place I forgot, back in the code, I'm going to have to kill the editor again. In the player controller C++ file, up here where we hook up all of our actions. And look, it's already got it figured out for us. Excellent. So I'll recompile and relaunch and we'll check it out. Okay, let's fire this sucker up here. And hit the tab key. Yeah, that's good, but it shouldn't be, I realize it now, it shouldn't be on triggered. It should be on completed. And let's check that 15 real quick. And also working there as well. But I will go ahead and move it real quick. This should be completed. Otherwise, it just, as you click it, it just triggers over and over and over again until you let your finger off the key. Really annoying. Fix it up in the header file. We'll go ahead and kill it and recompile. Okay, so with it recompiled and my editor relaunched one last time, let's take a look here. Now if we hit the tab, now it works better. When I let off the tab key, it switches, so that's perfect. On the throttle. All right, so we're good. So the F-16 is imported. We added a new camera, and we can toggle between the orbit camera, the cockpit camera. What was really striking about that was how simple it was really to bring in the F-16, and that just tells me that the base class obviously works well. The aircraft class is working well, and it tells me that it's a good thing I use the JSP Sim plugin because I mean that's the main thing, right? Just being able to have those files and be able to just switch from one to the other is pretty amazing. So the reason I did not bring in the A10, I brought in the model. Oh, there is a A10. Oh, I brought this in this A10 folder. So this is a folder that I grabbed from GitHub and brought into the GSP Sim project so that I can make that A10 work. And I did the same thing with an F-35. So there's an F-35 model here as well. Now, these are more complex than the models that came with the JSP Sim plugin. They've got, instrument panel configurations and all sorts of GUI stuff. Now, we're not going to use any of that, but it's even got the models in here for the cockpit and the exterior and all of that jazz. But like I said, we're not going to be using any of that. We're just going to use the engines, the systems, and the base XML file. In order to do that, I need to come in and I believe what I need to do is rename this file right here to be the same as the folder name. I think the JSP Sim plugin is basically looking for the XML file that it loads to have the same name as the folder. And right now for the A10 and the F-35, that is not true. So I need to, actually it's probably this file right here. Probably need to rename this one to match the folder name. And then down here in the F-35, wherever it is, where'd it go? F-35. This one right here needs to be renamed as well to match the folder name. And then theoretically, I'll be able to use those files with the JSP Sim plugin. Now, it'll probably be some time before I try that. There's other aircraft that need to be brought in as well. Really, I need to bring in some of the enemy aircraft, which I have not done yet, and those don't have files in here either, so I'm going to have to go find MiG-29 and 25 and 23 JSP Sim files out on GitHub to pull in here. I don't know what I'll do next, though. I still need to circle back to the UI for the campaign and, come up with some way for, users to create a multiplayer or single player campaign. And then if it's multiplayer, to have other players join, I need to go through all that rigmarole. But I didn't really feel like that today, so I just thought I'd bring in another unit just to have it ready to go. Like I said, the F-16 is really that's really the unit that I wanted to be the actual sim anyway. Um, and I am looking at, like I said, because the F-16 is controllable, this model that we're using is not good enough. If we change this default pawn back to the F-16 and run, and we tab into the cockpit camera, this is not good enough. That you can't even read those buttons, and the resolution is terrible. So um, I'm gonna have to find something better than this to use it as the actual player aircraft. And I've been looking, and I've seen a couple that are available for purchase online, and the prices are reasonable. I just have a hunch that whatever I'm going to buy, maybe it'll get me a little bit further, but it's probably not going to have everything I want, because what I really want at the end of the day is I want all of the switches and dials to be readable, and I need for them all to be rigged so that I can control them with the animation blueprint. And I'm guessing I'm probably not going to find exactly what I want. So all I can do is get as close as I can get. I'm not a modeler. I'm not going to go creating, my own model for this game. So I'm sort of stuck with what I can find available out there. So I'm looking, and I'll probably buy something, one of the F-16 models that's out there for purchase. I'll probably buy sometime relatively soon, and we'll use that to replace the Vigilante aircraft that I brought in. Just replace that skeletal mesh, and obviously when we do, we'll have to modify the blueprint as well. But that'll be the plan for that. As far as what I'll do next time, I'm still not sure, but we'll figure it out. And until then, thanks for watching, and take care.